Okay, so in this video, we're going to be looking at area, and this specifically area of squares. But basically, if you remember, perimeter is basically how far it is around basically some sort of shape. But what the area is how much space is taken up inside that, that shape, basically. So what we've got in this example here, so we're not doing any calculating, more looking at counting and looking at shapes, and so looking at what we call area of squares. In this case, it's we can count them up. So for example, I could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but I don't have 5, I actually have 6, because I could, this part here could actually go in there as well. So if I added that, I'd have 6. So my answer to this one would be 6 squares. Okay, and remember, it's this part here is what we're calling the area. It's that part inside, and that's what we what you're going to need to think of with area. Okay, so now let's look at these questions. So the first one here is count the number of squares to find the area of these shapes. So this is relatively easy. I'm looking at how many squares I've got. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so in this case, my area would be 5 squares. Okay, now this is a unit I'm using for this example because it's in terms of squares. What we find when we actually do some calculations are that we start having these sorts of units, so millimeter squared, centimeter squared, meter squared, acres, sort of the odd one out, but you can also call that kilometer squared. And basically what we mean by that is if I have one, say, meter and 1 meter, when we multiply it, which I'll go into another detail later, I'm going 1 times 1, that's that part, but I'm also going meter times meter. That gives me my 1 there. M times m would be m squared. So I actually get meters squared. All right, so the point of that is just to give you an idea. So when we look at a question like this, which unit of area would you choose to measure these areas? You just got to think of, if you're looking at the area of an A4 paper, are you going to use millimeters to measure it, centimeters, meters? Like if I've got an A4 piece of paper, are you going to use centimeters or meters to work out that length? Generally, I'd be using centimeters, so that means that would be centimeters. So in this case, I would go centimeters squared. Something like the area of a large desert, I would probably be looking at, you think large desert, it's not going to be any of these. So sorry, let me rephrase that. Not really going to be one of these, so I'd probably use that, acres or kilometers squared, but just let's go kilometers squared. Not going to do any of the others. I want you to have a think about those yourself, but that's how you would do a question like that. Okay, here's how we're looking at this. So count the number of squares to find the area of these shapes on centimeter grids. So these are each what we call centimeter grids. So it's 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter. But we're just going to count, in this case count. So I've got 1 there, and initially you think, oh, 2 and a little bit, but if you think about that shape that's cut here, if I cut that out and put it there, I would actually get 2. So I'd say 2 squares. This one here, let's count the full ones. I've got 1, 2, 3. Now, if you look at this one, it's cut in half, and so is this one. So what we can say therefore is, let's just go like that, put 1 there, we're going to say 4. Okay, and if you look at this as well, we're cutting through the middle, so let's cut that one out and imagine it was there. I would say 5. So in this case, our answer would be 5 squares.